Hi, I'm Callie Campbell, and I'm a member of the Westfield Volunteer Rescue Squad. I've been riding for about a year and a half now. I'm also a former Westfield teacher, I'm a Westfield parent, and I'm a lifelong Westfield resident. I really hope that you will help us raise money for our new squad building. You can do so at www.givetothesquad.com. Thanks for your support.
GiveToTheSquad.com.
All right, welcome back to another episode of That Westfield Podcast. Welcome to our new set, guys, with our first guest, Dr. Stacie Shivers. What's up, Stacie?
Nothing. I'm excited to be here.
How do you like the new set?
I love it. I love
Very
it.
blue, very, very fun. Yeah, right. Exciting. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoy it too. So we're creeping up on our 50th episode. Can you believe it?
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
It's pretty crazy. And only because of people like you, though. That's how we got here, by being able to tell the stories of all the business owners and share your experiences and why you do what you do. So thank you for joining us. And let's dive into it.
Sounds good.
We had a lot of really great conversation before filming this, and we could probably talk for 2.5 hours. We got 25 minutes, so let's see what we could cram in here. So real quick, tell everybody who you are, what you do, the name of your business, and what you focus on, and then I'll start asking you a ton of questions.
Wonderful. So my name is Dr. Stacie Shivers. I am a licensed clinical psychologist and also a certified school psychologist. I am also the founder and owner of Balanced Insight in Westfield. And Balanced Insight is a group private practice that provides therapy services to children, adolescents, adults, and families. And we also provide consultation services to schools and the community as well.
Wow. Boom. You nailed that.
Thank you. Thank
Just like my elevator pitches. Not quite. That's really great. So, yeah, we were actually sharing an office, and, I would always see your door open, and you always just have like this nice welcoming energy. So I'm super pumped to share what you do. So, okay. So some of the stuff we were talking about is like a lot of the struggles you're seeing these days with not only kids, teens and adults. So what are some of the biggest things that you're finding, people need help with in your practice, and how are you able to help them?
Yes. So I would say there's certainly a surge in levels of emotional dysregulation, specifically anxiety and some mood challenges. And I think that's across the board, across the lifespan. So it's not just children and adolescents. We're also seeing that a lot in adults as well, because life is hard, life is stressful, and we're in a very high-paced time, in this generation these days. So anxiety and just difficulty with trying to juggle
every day, right? Because we were not really made. There was a meme going around that was like, we were made to like eat blueberries in a cave. Like, have to do all this stuff, right?
Right. Overstimulation.
Right. Totally. And that's right for everybody. And like us, right? Like we're millennials and now like raising children. And it's like, we didn't have this growing up, right? So you're seeing, I guess, a lot of people our age, parents struggle with like, how do you balance like the technology and all that stuff. So totally understand. It's like, what are some of the tips that you try to, let's start with parents. Like, what are some tips you like to give adults, parents in managing the stress and kind of, learn to be grounded, and like what steps can they take if someone's listening right now and they're kind of struggling?
Right. Absolutely. Well, I would say it's certainly sort of like that example where on the airplane where you have to put your mask on first before you put the mask on someone else. I think it's so important for parents to engage in self-care. Right? Making sure that they are doing things that help them stay calm, help them stay healthy, help them stay regulated, because it's not only important for them, but it's modeling for their children and for their teenagers. Because when they do that behavior, and let's be honest, our children, okay, they may listen to what they say, but they really follow what we do, right? Like that's exactly. That's what they're following. So I think when parents can certainly take care of themselves, it sends a message that that's a priority and that is important. And so then you're teaching your child and your adolescent to also prioritize doing the same, taking more care of yourself and listening to how you're feeling, listening to your body and listening to what you need.
But Dr. Stacie, there's just no time in the day. What can I do? Like, where can people find 10 minutes in their day that maybe they're not realizing? Like, maybe they're mindlessly scrolling, right? Like, teach them how to transition from a behavior it feels like it's relaxing, but it's kind of adding to the stress, really.
That is such a great question, because it really does feel like there is never enough time in the day. And I think that we have this expectation that if I'm going to engage in self-care, if I'm going to do something to help me feel better, I have to devote 10 minutes to it. I have to devote 20 minutes to it. But really, you can take 30 seconds to 60 seconds to breathe, right? To ground yourself, to, maybe watch a show that makes you laugh or write in a journal. So I think finding time in the day really is about how we shift and reframe what we're thinking about for time and say, even if we start with 30 seconds, if we start with 60 seconds daily, that's the other message I send, right? Is a lot of times we let the stress and the anxiety creep up and then we're kind of exploding. You're like, okay, now I need to use a coping skill. It really should be involved in your daily experience.
Right.
So doing it every day, even when you're not feeling anxious, helps your nervous system sort of find more of a calm stance.
1,000%. And we're seeing a lot more of that now, right? Especially on social media, how to ground yourself, how to, how to regulate your nervous system.
Absolutely.
And people, we just never thought about these things. We weren't taught how to do that as children. Our parents certainly didn't know how to regulate their nervous system. Like, I mean, I don't think like our parents even, and you see these like funny things online of like our generation trying to talk to their parents about stuff, and they're like, "I'm a bad mother." Bye. Right? No, you weren't. Right. I just want to talk about my feelings. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of like opens up that door to like, again, without like overdoing it, just kind of finding something like middle ground, finding peace, and being able to, just like connect with your kid and not have to hopefully feel too overwhelmed.
That's the thing. And I also think for parents, it's really important to not jump in and feel like they have to rescue and solve the problem immediately, because then we're also inadvertently sending a message to our child and our teen that they can't do it, right? And we really want to help them grow, because resilience is a skill that can be learned, it can be developed, and it can be strengthened.
Right.
So when we show them the opportunity, right, when we're not fixing the problem for them, but letting them sit with it, acknowledging and validating how they're feeling, and then inviting them to have a conversation that's more, well, what do you think about this? What do you think would be helpful in this situation? And then also gently provide some suggestions if that's what they're looking for. But I think the first thing is parents can pause, stop, listen, take it all in, because we really want to send the children and the teens a message that we trust them to be able to problem solve and to be a critical thinker.
Right. And that is uncomfortable for a parent to say it, right? That's the hard part is you just want to fix.
Absolutely.
Be a good mom and your parent or dad.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's heavy, right? People, no one wants to sit with that discomfort. I wouldn't want to, or it's like you just don't feel like you don't have the patience to do it. Mm-hmm. You're like, I'll just do this, but yeah, you really are robbing somebody of an opportunity. And this is just like basic psychology, right? Even with like your staff, right? And your boss, like when you keep stepping in and fixing things for employees, they'll never learn how to do it themselves. So, man, we're dropping bombs.
I love it.
All right, so let's talk about the kids and the teenagers. We've had a couple people on the show. We always talk about, obviously the struggles of going through the pandemic and what has changed. But now that, we're kind of out of it. We've been out of it for a little while. So, we don't talk about that, but like, what are some like the pressures kids are dealing with these days that are kind of, you're seeing at the top of the list in your practice?
Yeah. So, it's so interesting because I think that this generation has it really tough. And that's not to discount former or previous generations, because each generation has their challenge. But I think what's really difficult about kids and teens now is that they're not only having to juggle navigating the real world, but they also have to juggle navigate the virtual and social media world as well. So that's a lot for them to have to take in, and it can get very overwhelming. So there's pressure, that they're seeing in terms of friendships. Having one or two friends is not enough. We need to have a friend group. Mm-hmm. Or academically, getting an A in a regular math class is not enough. You need to get an A in honors or advanced placement classes. Extracurriculars, like being good at this sport, not enough. Are you the best at this sport? So I think the list just goes on and on and on of, what's challenging for them. And I think what I've also thought about is it's really difficult that they're feeling all these pressures, these mounds of challenges at these very, very fundamental moments in their life and their development of identity development, right? So they're getting all these messages and stress when they're trying to figure out who they are.
Right.
And so that's tough. That's a lot to take in.
I don't know who I was. I was like 4 different people. I was 12. I was like a ninja dressing up and like roller skating, playing hockey. And then I was like with my cousins and I had like a different personality with every friend group, but that was like figuring out who I was.
Right.
I think that's not celebrated enough, right? It's like I haven't feel this pressure to choose, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't have children, so it's hard for me to say. The cats are a little bit easier to right? But even their personalities. So imagine like just expectation of being something that, is just you're figuring out.
Right. Absolutely.
Give all the parents out there tons of credit for navigating that. And even as adults, we're still figuring out who we are.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because research also shows us that our brains are not fully developed until we're 25. Mm-hmm. So we're expecting these children and these teens to figure it out and to navigate and work through all of this when their brains are not even fully developed yet.
I just see every woman who's ever dated a man under 25 going like, sorry, mom. No, but yeah, right. Your prefrontal cortex, literally, like your ability to make decisions, and you're an adult at 18, but it's like if I had an 18-year-old child, and depending on their maturity, some girls they say mature faster, or I think experience is what matures you, and the things that you do in life mature you.
Right.
But imagine having to make these like horrific, hard decisions, like guys who go up to and girls who go up to the military, and like you're making real life hard decisions at that age, and that is very difficult. And some people make mistakes, right? You're 18, 19 years old, you're kind of hanging out with the wrong crowd. You don't mean to do something, but maybe you don't have, the complete thinking skills to know, like, I need to get out of here.
Right.
Like, and so it's all learning curve, right? And we're all working on it every day. I'm 38 and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Podcast host is on the list, right? So speaking of that, let's talk about your career. You have some people on your team as well, right?
I do.
So tell us about them and kind of like what all your specialties are. So if someone's looking for you guys, they kind of, if you're a good fit.
Absolutely. So I have 2 other associates that work with me, and they're fantastic. They are highly trained psychologists, and on our website, there's their bio. We have their bios of, what their training entails and what their specialties include. And so they can treat anxiety, depression, OCD, ADHD, just improving quality of life. The list goes on. But the way that when we get referrals or people that are interested in services with us, we really do pair that potential client with the specialty that the therapist would have. So if we have someone that is really great at working on anxiety with children, then that therapist is going to be paired with that person.
Right.
If we have one of my other psychologists, she's very good and has expertise in OCD. So, we would then send people that are looking specifically for OCD treatment to her. So we really do try to make sure it's a good fit.
Right. Yeah. So a little bit of everything. Everything's covered here. And so we were talking before and we're talking about medication, right? Is there an over medication epidemic in the country? And you said the reason why you love doing what you do is because you love being at like the intervention phase of it. Like, let's see everything we can do before we need to take that step, right? And there's so much, right? So many things you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I think that medication can be so beneficial. And, there are some cases where it certainly is needed. But just as you said, the reason that I went into psychology is because I really am a firm believer in let's figure out how we can change our thinking patterns. How can we figure out what behaviors might need to have some shifts and some interventions, and see if those are different strategies and coping mechanisms that can be utilized and that can be applicable to various situations. See how that works first. And, if we're still having a hard time, then let's refer and see if medication is another route.
Right. You got to take the steps to get to where you need to be. So I want to go back to this idea of resilience. So in your past life,
yes,
you were a professional dancer.
I was.
And obviously that takes a lot of resilience, anything acting, dancing, because, you get a lot of rejection. You have to work harder than everybody else just to maybe win. So tell me a little bit about that experience and how that prepared you to teach about resilience.
Yes, absolutely. So, I actually started dancing when I was 3. So it's been a part of my life since forever. I'm not going to say how old I am, but so I think I've learned a lot of hard lessons in dance. And it's actually interesting that dance is what brought me to psychology. I found an interest in the mind-body connection and was learning a lot about how, specific body regulation is important in changing the way that we think and being more mindful of our mental health. And so I think when you are a dancer or a performer or, an artist, whatever your genre is, there is this space of you do have to tap into that resilience. And the resilience, I would say, I do truly believe that it's inherently in all of us. It's just at varying degrees, and we may not know where we are in that resilience yet. So that's why I said we have to, it can be learned, it can be developed, it can be strengthened. But as a dancer, you go to these auditions and you get a lot of no's, right? But you have to make sure that you're reminding yourself that the no is not because you're not talented and you're not skilled. The no is because it was not right for you right now, right? And so how do you take that and how do you use that to fuel yourself, to push yourself and to ask for help, right? Use your resources. So then that you're able to get back on the horse and try again. And you might get knocked down again, but that's again, we ask for our help. We use our resources, we use our coping, and we continue on.
Well, that's all it is, right? That is all it is. Like learning resilience in childhood and into adulthood is the only thing that will just keep us steady, keep us grounded, keep us resilient, obviously, and keep us growing and learning and not being afraid to take things on, because it's almost just like a formula, right?
It is
a simple formula. So that's really cool. Wow, this is really good stuff. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So, but tell them about any, community events, anything you have coming up for you and your team.
Certainly, yes. So, we love doing community outreach. So, Balance Insight and myself, we will actually be at a community mental health fair this coming Saturday in South Orange. Yeah. So, if anybody's available, it's from 1 to 3. So, we will have swag, we'll have, but also information. I actually have a mental health checklist that will be there. And just, you can come and chat and talk and all of that.
What's on this checklist now? Wait, we should have pulled it out.
Right. Yeah. Come to the fair. You can find out. So I have the community fair that I will be at this Saturday. And then actually next Wednesday, I am giving a talk at a library. It's Long Hill Library.
Nice.
On building resilience in children and adolescents. So this is actually perfect that we're talking about it. It's September 25th at 6:30. It's hybrid. So if you live close to Long Hill Township, you can certainly hop on over to the library, but there's also a virtual link. So I have a newsletter that, people can sign up for on my website. So there's a registration link for the presentation that we'll be doing. And then I also have another one coming up in October 15th. And that one will be specifically on helping teens manage stress. So it's a virtual. That one's only virtual.
That's cool. That's easy for people. So that's for the parents or that's for the kids?
It's geared toward the teens more, but parents, I think, can take a lot of tips from it. So right. I will be talking to both parents and teens, even though it's really for the teens to really kind of take on and latch on to what can be helpful for them.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Okay. So real quick, tell everyone where they can find you. And then I want to wrap up with some stuff. But your website, logistics, Instagram, all that kind of.
Right. Absolutely. So our website is balancedinsight.health. And I am in Westfield, right on Quimby Street. So you can always also hop in and get a brochure at the office. That's one other place. I am on social media as well. It's Dr. Stacie Shivers, and that's Stacie, Stacie,
okay.
Shivers. And that's for Instagram and for Facebook.
Nice. Easy peasy. All right. So let's leave everybody with some practical tips that they can take into. So they're watching this and they're just like, I'm really struggling. I know my kid's struggling. I know I've been thinking about getting into therapy with them. Like, what practical advice can you give them right now to just help them get started on their journey?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I would say that it's really important to do that pause, stop, think for a second. That's the first thing, right? Take a breath, stop, pause, and think. For parents, make sure that you are modeling and engaging in your own self-care, and encouraging children and teenagers to engage in their own self-care. Conversations, acknowledging and validating emotions. That's another important piece because I think we don't have to over talk about emotions, but I do think it's important for us as individuals, adults, and also teens and children to recognize that it's okay to feel, right? It's okay to have those feelings. It's okay, right? Our behaviors are different. Certain behaviors may not always be acceptable, but all feelings are valid. And so I think a takeaway for parents and for adults individually is allow ourselves to validate how we're feeling and then remind ourselves that we are resilient and we will figure out whether it's by ourselves or with help, right, what the next steps are to help us get through that challenging experience.
Yeah. I have lots of confidence in you to fix my future family. I want to ask you one more question, actually,
Sure.
Before you go. I think this is important too. What would you say to someone who feels like that their current psychologist or person that they're working with is not a good fit, and they feel maybe bad about leaving, they're trying somebody new? Like, what are some signs, or like, how do you know when it's time to move on? Try something new.
That is a great question. Some of the signs are if you feel that. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you feel that there is a stagnant kind of experience in the treatment. Now that doesn't mean that treatment is fast paced, because it's very true that, going to therapy, it can be slow pace and, it does take time and investment and commitment. But if you're feeling like the fit is not really there, bring it up to your therapist. I always tell my patients, let me know. I want to know what you're feeling is working, what's not working. Let's see if we can figure it out together. Because again, I think that also builds resilience because it's helping people find their voice and be able to communicate that. And therapists, we want to know because we're here to help you, right? Like, this is your therapy. This is your time. So let us know what, is not feeling right. Bring that up. If after talking about it still doesn't feel like the right fit, it's okay. You can always just either ask them for resources or, there's plenty of resources where you could go online look at balancedinsight.health, or you can also, go to some other websites and look for other referrals, and try to find the new therapist that you think would be a good fit.
That's great advice. I think we've all been there. I think we've all, had one person who we try to work with and you're like, yeah, but then you feel so uncomfortable bringing it up. But it's like, just remember that they're there to help you. And so is Stacie and her team. So go check out her website, balanceinsight.health.
Right. Yeah.
And she's on Columbia Street. Pop in, see her anytime, give her a call. And thank you so much. This was awesome, really insightful, and balanced insight for sure. I love that. It's such a good name for your business.
Thank you.
Perfect. And we're going to see you around. So thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Fight.